May it please the court. Excuse me. We began this journey when Kouri Richins stood before this court, stood before your honor, and entered a plea of not guilty. And now, after being convicted by a jury, she stands before you again. And on this day, she will tell you again that she did not do what she has been convicted of doing. And that is her right under the law. And we, her advocates, we are tasked with a sacred duty, a duty to protect and preserve her constitutional rights at all costs. In the face of criticism, scorn, and ridicule from the public, the media, and anybody else connected with this case, we have been committed to our duty throughout this trial, and we remain so today. It is our privilege and honor to stand beside Kouri. We believe in her innocence completely. And we will continue to stand by her as she takes her appeal to the next level, to a higher court. But that battle remains for another day. Today, she stands before you, convicted by a jury of 5 felony counts. We recognize and honor that this court is also tasked with a sacred duty, a duty under the Constitution and laws of our state to decide the appropriate sentence in light of Ms. Richins' convictions. The enormity of that responsibility cannot be denied. Everything we will present to your honor today is submitted for your consideration with an abiding faith in the court's commitment to its sacred duty, and in the prayerful hope that mercy will prevail over calls for retribution. As the state has conceded in their briefing, in order to decide an appropriate sentence, it is right and just for this court to look not only at the conduct for which Kouri Richins has been convicted, but also at her entire life. The good things she has done, making her worthy of the mercy of this court. Things such as the personal traits and characteristics that suggest she is not the monster that the prosecution portrays, but a human being, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a person that has made mistakes, but a person who has loved deeply, a person who's completed acts of kindness and love and care toward others, a person who's contributed to her community, a person who, even in the darkest time of her life, reached out to help others who were incarcerated alongside her, a person who unselfishly tried to ease the pain her family and friends experienced as a result of this case. Now, we have asked people who know Kouri the best to show you the person they know and love. You will hear from family and friends who saw her the most. You will hear from people who worked with her. You will hear from people who spent time with her since she's been incarcerated and have seen how committed she is to rehabilitation while she's in jail. Even more telling, you will hear how she's helped others even when facing unbearable situations in her own life. All of these individuals will reassure this court that she can be productive and make positive contributions in a carceral setting. You've heard from the state their cry for the harshest punishments available under our laws. Yet you also presided over this trial. You saw the evidence and the absence of facts that would justify such penalties. I am sure this court is aware of what a sentence of life without parole actually means in a prison setting. These individuals are locked down in their cells 23 hours a day. They are not provided with the opportunity to participate in programming, seek education, work at jobs in the prison. For all intents and purposes, they are treated as death row inmates. They are denied in-person visitation. They are stripped of any sense of community or humanity. They have no hope of any future reunification with the people they love. Out of the thousands and thousands of cases that go through our criminal justice system, less than 100 individuals have been determined to be worthy of a sentence of life without parole. And that is because judges throughout this state understand that such a sentence presumes that an individual is wholly incapable of redemption or rehabilitation and should be punished in the worst way imaginable until they die alone in a cage. And Ms. Lewis will talk more about that later. But in the meantime, you're also going to hear from 3 people who've never met Kouri Richins. They know nothing about her case, but they know about what life without parole means. You are going to hear from a mother whose son was murdered and how many years ago she was in the position that the Richins family is in now. You will hear about her journey to forgiveness and how after many years she came to regret seeking the penalty of life without parole for her son's killer. You will hear from a woman who understands how Kouri's boys feel. Her father killed her mother and was sentenced to prison. You will hear how she learned to forgive her father and how she's enriched her life through finding her way into a relationship with him again. And you will hear from a former prosecutor, someone who sat right where Mr. Bloodworth sits now, and how he personally witnessed the rehabilitation and tragic end of an individual he put behind bars for life. All of these perspectives are important because they remind us and the court that the recognition of the precious gift of life takes many forms and can change over time. They remind us that the decisions made by this court today can reflect our own humanity and inspire us all to have hope and believe in forgiveness. Finally, Your Honor, you're going to hear from Ms. Richins herself. Her allocution is unusually long. She has worked very hard on it. We asked the court to allow her to take about 30 minutes or so to read her words aloud. She is going to share with you what matters most to her in this world, her love for her boys. It is all she has left. Everything else she has ever held dear in her life has been stripped from her. It is her hope that in openly and honestly sharing her love and hopes and dreams for her boys with you, that you will see what it is inside of her that is worth saving, that is worthy of mercy, and that is filled with hope, humanity, and love. So with the court's indulgence, we'd like to read aloud some letters that have been provided to us. As I discussed, some have asked us to read it and only share the names with you in the prosecution. Some are here to read them themselves. And we are grateful to the court's indulgence to listen. And we're going to start with a letter from Kouri's mother, and Ms. Lewis is going to read that letter. And I have a copy of it that I'm going to provide so the court can read along if you like. And I also have copies for the prosecution as we go.